So, welcome to today's podcast, where I'm joined by Sir Jonathan Kiekbusch, the guy with the best accent, best English accent, and he's German. I do mean that, by the way. You've got such a cool accent. If I was going to pick anyone's accent, it would be yours. If I was going to do public speaking and all of that kind of stuff, very easy to understand. So you've mastered that well. Just out of curiosity, did you go to school in England? I've never asked you that before.
You know, I very briefly did. I did I think year 6 and year 7 here, which was really horrible because at that point I didn't have this accent, and so I got bullied hardcore. Like, English kids were not kind to the little German boy that joined their class.
So how the hell did you end up with that though? Was it elocution lessons, or how the hell do you end up with such a posh accent?
It's really bizarre because it came super naturally, in the way that growing up in Germany, the first time that I was really exposed to wanting to learn English was the Harry Potter books, right? Because the Harry Potter books would always come out in English about half a year before they would be released in German. And I had a lot of really smart kids in my school that could read in English, and so they would already know what would be happening, and you would basically be the loser if you didn't already know and you didn't read in English. So it kind of made me have an interest. And then I lived in India for just shy of 3 years, when I was 16 to 18. And during that time, I picked up the fluency in English, but I had an amazing Indian accent because I'd never been exposed to any other accents, right? And then I moved over to the UK, and I just seem to kind of chameleon when it comes to accents. So now that I'm married to my wife, who's American, and I spend a bunch of time in Kentucky, I become a full-on redneck. It's just weird. I don't know what it is. It's not something that I consciously do. I just soak it up.
Yeah, that's weird, but it's good to hear that it wasn't staged or put on. It's just got there, because I think if you were ever going to stage an English accent, you do sound like one of those guys, from the old English movies or whatever, proper, well-spoken English. So good job. Wish I could do it, but yeah, sadly, it's not going to work for me. But anyway, on to you and what you do. Obviously, you are Mr. SEO Butler, previously PBN Butler. And obviously, I'm just going over your website there. I feel as if you guys have been about for years, but you've only been around for 4 or 5 years, which
That's
is
right. Yeah, we launched in November 2014.
Jeez. Yeah, I find that hard to believe. When I was reading it, I'm like, geez, they just feel as if they've been around for a long time. And obviously, years die very quick.
I think it's the byproduct of our industry, though, right? Because you have so many fly-by-night operators that pop up for maybe 3 to 6 months that then disappear. It puts everything else into perspective and makes everything else feel like it's been around for a really long time. So I always make this joke when I talk to prospects, is that for our industry, we've been around for ages. But then for the real world, we're in the infancy stages of our business.
Yeah.
You look at the big legacy firms that have been around since, I don't know, the 90s or whatever in other industries, or even longer, 100-year-old legacies. Our 5 years seems pretty insignificant by comparison.
Yeah. No, it's, as I say, it's flabbergasting. Obviously, you've got a good reputation within the industry, and you built up a good team there, nice office, which I've been in, yeah, you seem to be doing reasonably well for a guy that's been in the industry so short. So what was your previous background prior to PBN Butler?
That is an interesting question. So I had 2 big roles beforehand. The first one was that I worked for a company called Human Factors, who are an Indian, British, American company that are really heavily into usability testing. So they do UX testing and basically what is now known as CRO for the big boys, right? So we would test everything from mobile phones that are going to be released to I think we did a test for like Boeing and their cockpit and like the usability of the cockpit, but then also to like websites and stuff like that. And I was their director of sales for Europe, which was a really, really great role. I basically got to travel on somebody else's pocket for all across Europe, meeting big firms and kind of making deals. After that, I was made redundant from that role because the American bubble burst, and we had to close a lot of offices in the States, which had a knock-on effect. What ended up happening is I got really sick of working in tech, and I was like, what else could I do? And for whatever unbelievable reason, I decided to start a physical security company. So we did close protection, we did surveillance, we did like high-end events. So we did stuff like the Queen's polo matches in London and stuff like that. And I did that for 3 years, and I built that business up. It was a very hard business to run. Margins are super low, super painful. A lot of the people are quite unreliable to work with, because obviously everyone is on a sort of, a per gig contract, and just painful. So after 3 years, started getting back into tech, met my business partner at the time, who I founded this business with, and then later bought out. And slowly but steadily made that migration. And then in the end, I just sold off whatever contracts I still had in the security world and got rid of that business and just focused on this.
So trying to scale up a security business is harder than trying to scale up a digital business.
Right, for sure. I think it's a lot of backhanders. Like that's the thing that like what a lot of people don't realize is that even though a lot of the contracts come from like councils and really big companies, every person that assigns those deals at those big companies or councils obviously has a preferred vendor. Even if their procedures say that they have to tender those contracts out, they already kind of know who they're giving that to, right? So your only way to get your foot in the door is really by knowing where to apply leverage and knowing who you have to meet and all of that stuff. And that's really unsatisfying because you could be running the best outfit there is at fair pricing, the best quality of service, etc., and it still be really difficult to scale.
Yeah, no, that's unfortunate, but I think that happens across the business world in general. There's a lot of funny business that goes on, and I've seen it myself. Even in this industry, when you get stuff from councils or whatever, it's always the same guys who get all the funding and everything else. And yeah, it's a pain in the ass to see, but yeah, I can see why that's frustrating. So back into the tech world, you go for PB and Butler. What was the thought behind that? Was it because PBNs were a big thing at that point, or?
I think I wanted to solve a problem. Like Luke and I, who I founded that business with, we were looking at the market and we were really trying to find a way to very quickly put our foot in the door and establish ourselves. And originally we thought about just sort of like white labeling SEO services as a whole and just sort of offering our services to other vendors and stuff like that. And the problem was, though, that we just didn't have the authority, right? Like we were new to all of the communities. We were totally new on the scene. And so that would have been really difficult because the trust factor to handing over like an entire SEO campaign has to be fairly high versus, just an individual aspect of a particular campaign. So we spent some time monitoring the groups and sort of looking at what people were talking about. And a lot of people were building out their PBN networks. At that time, it was so easy still to find domains, right? Like via Scrapebox, via all of the different sites that were offering you to filter down domains and stuff like that. And PBNs were really hot in a lot of the communities that we're in. And so we were like, what is the number one thing that people are complaining about? And it was that people couldn't find enough reliable VA level writers to create cheap content to build out huge PBNs, right? So like somebody that was building, let's say, a network of 200 sites needed to have at least 4 articles per site, and they obviously don't want to be spending $20, $30, and they also don't want to individually be dealing with different writers. So what we did is we hired a lady in the Philippines back then, and we're like, can you just be our point of contact to basically manage, like recruit and manage writers? And by doing so, we immediately had a competitive edge over individual writers because we had multiple, right? So we just put a couple of posts up in the communities, and within just like days, really, we had quite a lot of orders for a crap load of content. And the biggest complaint was the inconsistency with like spelling and grammar. And so we were like, wow, how do we fix this? So what we ended up doing is we hired American university students to proofread the content that the Filipino VAs had written. And by just getting them to proof it, we could pay them far less money than if we were getting them to write it, meaning that our prices could stay competitive, but we could get like a massive competitive edge over the quality that everybody else was supplying. So that grew very, very quickly. The problem with it was that our margins were absolute dog shit. I mean, like you really had to sell like probably tens of thousands of articles to make any real money. And so over time, we then realized that we had to turn it into like a bigger service, which is why we then started adding other things. Like at that point, we sold domains, we sold PBN build outs, we started offering our citations, we started the social signal service and a bunch of other stuff. And then fast tracking a couple of years forward, around the same time that I bought my business partner out, I then wanted to completely restructure the business. We changed it from PBN Butler to SEO Butler. We got rid of all of the Filipino VA written content. We got rid of the PBN products and services, and we went the complete sort of opposite direction by offering the super high quality stuff by hiring US writers, having US or UK based editors and stuff like that.
So do you think there is a market for that high-end stuff, because I know people will go, everything's about cost, and everyone we talk to in the community is like, where's the cheapest place to find a writer and stuff like that. But I'm assuming like your market, like agencies and everything else, are quite happy to pay for a premium service. Is that correct?
I would say that the problem is that most of us look at the pricings on stuff like the prices on stuff like SEO Butler from an owner-operator SEO perspective, rather than from the perspective of a company that's spending 500 grand a year on their marketing, right? So the reality is that in the SEO space, I would say that our prices are probably in the medium to high range for a managed service. Obviously, what you're paying for is the scalability, because through us, you have access to about 60 writers right now, with editing, with all of that fancy stuff included. But in the real world, if you were to hire an agency to actually write that content for you, you would probably be paying 2 or 3 times the amount that we're charging you, because all of our prices are built in a way that you can still apply margins, right? And so it's always funny to me when I have SEOs and marketers come to me and be like, man, $30 for a blog post or $20, whatever it might be, is really a lot. And I've just sold the same thing for like $175 to a SaaS company in California. And they're like, man, we selected you because you were the cheapest, you know?
Yeah. No, it's amazing when you find that, as I say, it's quite hard for someone being in the industry who knows what content, what price I can get content for. But a lot of people don't see the value in all your processes and everything else. And obviously you're a business and you've got to make money as well. So I think there's a market for everyone, regardless of what way you look at it. And I think, for me, when I started out in business, I was always the freelancer who just started out on his own and charged way too little as well. I wasn't really valuing the service that I was providing. So I think people have to take a look at that. And if you're providing good value, good service, scalability and everything else, then it's obviously a no-brainer to use it. And also, as you say, go to one of these London agencies or whatever, and you're going to be paying a hell of a lot more than what you're charging. So you do have to look at it from that point of view. But obviously, everyone's got different markets. I don't try and sell to people in the community or whatever, because it's not my target audience. My target audience is newbies or who want training and whatnot. And we've all got our own markets and we can all make a few quid doing that. But over and above, obviously, SEO Butler, you seem from the outside looking in very keen to build your personal brand as well. Over the years, you're doing more and more speaking events. I think we're speaking at 2 or 3 events this year that I know of so far. That together, one in India later this month, and SEO spring training, and I'm pretty sure there'll be something else that crops up as well. Is that something you are actively trying to do, or do you do that from trying to just learn and develop your own skills, or do you think building Jonathan Kiekbusch's brand is good for business? What way are you looking at that, or is it both?
I think it's kind of a mix. Like for me, I am super realistic about the fact that things like SEO Butler are not going to be the thing that I'm going to be doing forever, right? Like it has a ceiling. Like I don't want to go down the route of brands like the Hoth or stuff like that turn that into like a huge mega company, because I think even I would struggle to keep quality consistent at that kind of level with the volumes that they allegedly do, right? So I try to be super unemotional about the individual ventures that I and like the sort of group of companies that I'm involved with owns. And I think that the most consistent thing that you can do in order to like secure your future is to build up your own brand and do good things, so that no matter what you plan to do in the future, you are able to do that, right? So it doesn't matter, like if I decide, let's say that I woke up tomorrow and I decided to sell SEO Butler and I decided to sell the agency that we have and just get rid of everything. I could go probably, I hope, into consultancy the next day and have a network of people that know me, respect me, know what I'm about, understand where my skill sets are, and do really well. Or start a new venture and have a network of people that would probably help me promote it, or provide feedback on it, whatever. So I've definitely been trying to up my game at being at events, speaking at events, getting booked for more things. Although I will say, I don't think there's anyone that can compete with you in regards to the amount of bookings and outings that you have. That's just insane.
It's I'm not sure. I think there's people a lot worse than me doing it. Lucas Selesny seems to be everywhere. But it is
Callan, the domain guy. He's at every single event.
Yeah, Callan. He is insane with that rucksack on. Everywhere I've been, Chiang Mai, I've seen him in so many places. I'm like, dude, man, do you ever not go to anything? But it obviously works very well for him. So, I think what I always beat the drum about is get yourself out and mingling with everyone else. And, it certainly pays off massively. You know, from a learning perspective, you know, I've met you, been in your office, you know, we've got mutual friends in the community, who all talk to each other and give each other tips, or you can pick up the phone or WhatsApp them and say, hey, you know, I'm really shit at this. I've never done this before. Can someone help? And yeah, we've all got strengths and weaknesses, and I think that's obviously an important part, is being able to bounce ideas off of fellow guys, you know, out there who are doing their different stuff. Like obviously you're, and I've heard people mention, you know, I spoke to Jonathan Kiekbusch about this, or I spoke to him about that. People are already leaning on you for advice or consultancy or whatever, which you're obviously doing. So I've no doubts at all that, you know, doing the consultancy thing would be something, you know, already that you, as you say, could do tomorrow, because people are already doing that with you. But over and above, you know, the kind of networking side and obviously traveling, you know, Holly Starks, I know you're very close with her, and very good friend. I want to talk a bit about Holly. Holly I've met several times, love Holly. Would love to know, you know, does she blow your brains as well? Like everything I see of Holly, even just now looking on her Facebook, you know, this mobile phone thing, you know, trying to charge 100 phones and shit like that. Do you often find, like, this is the weirdest niche when you're doing all these kind of travels and you bump into all these people from all over the world? Some people are doing some weird ass shit.
100%. Like for me, the reason why I love people like Holly so much is because they have something that I really don't have whatsoever. And James Dooley is another person like that. I am very, very anal when it comes to evaluating opportunities and risk. And I will not take a lot of opportunities based on the risk of it not being a long-term gain or whatever. And because of that, I miss out on huge opportunities, right? So like, to give you a super non-relevant example, I really didn't get involved in the crypto stuff just because I was like, I don't see that the world is ready for this in the long term right now. And so I'm not going to invest all of my time into trading and researching and stuff like that, because I don't think that like the current form 2 years ago now is going to stay. And because of that, I missed out on, you know, huge gains probably. The same exact thing on something like what Holly is doing right now, where, you know, she sees an article about a German guy who's an artist who has bought 100 phones. He's set them up with SIM cards. He walked down the road using the navigation settings and has created a virtual traffic jam on Google Maps, which started to circumnavigate other drivers away from that road. And her first thought is, I'm now going to go on eBay and buy 100 phones. Right? And like, for me, I don't have, like, whatever that is, I don't have. And so I really love to keep people like that close, to give me that perspective and call me out on my own bullshit where I talk myself out of opportunities. And you know, I always hope that I can kind of provide them with the balance to their own insanity. You know what I mean? So like, we kind of, I hope that it's kind of like a true give and take. But yeah, no, this industry is just ridiculous. Some of the stuff that people do is just stupid, but in a great way.
Yeah, I just never had you two guys being so close, you know, because it's like chalk and cheese. You know, she's insane and you're professional. With all due respect, I love Holly and I love insane people, and you know, that's probably why we've got a lot of the mutual same friends, guys like Dooley and all of that, you know, are probably, if they were ever to, you know, get clinically checked, would be certified insane. But I think there's a lot to be said for taking those chances and doing wild things, because we can obviously learn a lot from it as well. I mean, I'm not as reserved as you. Sometimes I don't give a shit, and I like to, you know, have a bit of havoc go on, and just for the sheer hell of it. But you know, as I say, some of the other things that you see these other guys doing is really mind blowing. And yeah, as I say, I love it, and I think obviously the event we're going to, the SEO Spring Training, got out there. I was at the SEO Rockstars event in October with Holly and various other people, and it was mind-blowing some of the stuff these guys are doing to make money. It's absolutely insane. So I'm sure that will be another top event. I mean, for you, how do you select where you go? How do you find these guys like Holly Starks, or, did you consciously sit there and go, she's crazy, I'm going to follow her, or, or Dooley or whatever, or was this just sheer luck falling into these people's paths?
I think that it's 50% of the people I would say are sheer luck, and then 50% I have like sort of sort them out. Holly, it was really bizarre and just a testament to how great she is. We had kind of chatted on Facebook a couple of times, and she did this like 3 or 4 day mastermind in Chicago. We'd never met or anything. And she just hits me up on Facebook and is like, can you come to Chicago to present at my mastermind? And I was like, okay, booked a ticket. And this was like really early days, to be honest with you. So yeah, flew out there, got to know her over those couple of days, did that mastermind, and it worked out really, really well. And ever since then, we've just been really good friends. We've kind of connected at different places, we kind of stay in touch. And it's hilarious because our businesses have next to no overlap, so we kind of just like call each other out every now and then and give each other a hard time, and it's really fun. Dooley, I think I host this dinner in Brighton every year. There is the relatively well-known Brighton SEO conference in town, where our office is, and so I host the Not Brighton SEO dinner, which is kind of an event for people that are a little bit, I would say, without giving ourselves a pat on the back too much, but a little bit ahead of the curve when it comes to the general audience that goes to that event. And so we kind of like to have our little side event to be able to talk a little bit more openly about some of the tests that we're running, some of the strategies we're using, some of the more advanced stuff. And I'm 99% sure that the first ever time I met Dooley in person was when we did that first event, and I just invited everyone I could see was in the UK from that event. And you, knowing Dooley, that he would have been the first person to be like, yep, I'm down.
Yeah, he doesn't need ask twice to come to anything like that. But I think what you do in terms of that event is really good. It is the high level of people that are in that room, and obviously I made the mistake of coming along there. Can't remember if it was last year or whenever it was, and spoke, and I thought to myself, fuck, I'm in a room full of high level people. What can I deliver that's out with the norm? And jokingly said a few things, and they all get taken the wrong way and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a high level of people there. But when you're faced with a room of 50 plus guys who are all making real money, they've got real businesses, they know how shit works. What else is a man supposed to do other than come up with some fucking funny stories or whatever? But yeah, I can see now why that was a massive mistake. But yeah,
I had a great time.
I think there was quite a lot of people. I heard a lot of people laughing quite hard at it. I just seen like 7 or 8 faces just looking at me as if, what the fuck? And obviously, done it without thinking about the likes of Dooley when I said, yeah, he just does site audits and slips links on people's websites, which was an absolute lie from me. Just some banter, if you like. But yeah,
I think that the problem is that once you go past a certain group of a certain group size, you have to preface it with almost with a disclaimer to kind of say, look, I'm gonna make some jokes right now. Some of these may be true, some of these may not be true. I'll leave that up to your imagination. But that's just reality, right? Like you can't. There's always going to be somebody that's going to take it the wrong way.
it's that was certainly a learning curve for me, and it was fun, but just a massive learning curve for anyone else listening. Don't go in there and think, yeah, I'll just go in there and give all this banter out and throw everyone under the bus. It still doesn't come out properly, and there's still someone giving you aggro. But as I say, it's a great event, and I think if anyone does have the opportunity to get along to it, I think there's a real high caliber of people there, and I know guys who are necessarily not going to attend the actual Brighton SEO go to your event. I've seen Jared Spiewak and super smart guys like that who I haven't seen in the Brighton SEO building in my life, and I'm not even sure if he does actually go along to it. Kurt Phillip, all of these kind of crazy guys as well are there. So I think if anyone's listening and you want to, as Jonathan says before, try and put yourself towards the kind of bigger players in the market, or people who maybe will help you move to the next level, then your event is that place to go. So people really should be schmoozing you and trying to.
I think it's just nice because it's kind of a smaller event, so people get the chance to sort of get to know each other, even though it's just the one afternoon. We've had many people sort of come back and say, look, I appreciate it because I met blah and blah there, and now we've got something going on together, etc. But it also kind of brings me to a totally different point, and I'm sure that this is something that you do yourself, but it took me a really long time to get over myself and realize how accessible people in this industry truly are, and how much you can directly reach out to people. And like you said earlier, just sort of say, hey man, we haven't spoken much. I can see that you're really good at X, Y, and Z. Is there any way you could spare me an hour of your time? I'll pay for it if I have to. And I just want to bounce some shit off you and get your input. And the moment that I kind of got over myself and I started realizing that you have that access to people in this industry, things change dramatically, because obviously not everybody is willing to share all of their kind of tips, tricks, experiences in the open forum of the Facebook groups or whatever, but they might be happy to give you far more detailed advice when you're on a call with them, right? And so I've done that excessively over the last year or maybe even 2 years, to literally just oh, I have a problem with trying to figure out, I don't know, whatever, Facebook ads for e-commerce or something. Let me find the guy or girl that is absolutely killer at Facebook ads for e-com, and be like, how can I get on the phone with you for an hour? Please give me that time. And then just being brutally honest with them and being like, here's a problem I have. What would you recommend that I tweak, change, fix, whatever? And you can do that with so many people. And I think that if people started making more use of that, they would get so much more benefit and speed up their growth process.
Out of curiosity, out of the guys that you have reached out to for that, percentage-wise, how many of them charge and how many don't?
I genuinely don't think a single one of them has charged me.
Interesting.
I think I always offer to pay because it's a respect thing. I respect your time, and 9 times out of 10 they've never asked for a penny. Now I don't know if that could be a byproduct of the fact that I ask, this is going to sound stupid, but I ask questions that actually make tickle their brain. So I thought about it and I've researched it before, so it's not just hey man, can you tell me how to deploy a fixel on my website, and then secondly, it could also be kind of that they that maybe they seek a longer term relationship with one of the brands that I have, or whatever it might be. So I don't know, but I've genuinely never been charged for it. I've always offered to pay. I think it also kind of depends on what the sort of framing of it is, because I charge for consultancies myself, but it depends on how it works. If somebody that I've been communicating with reaches out to me and it's like, hey, John, do you have 15 minutes? I really need to reach out to you. I'm not going to charge them. I have a couple of people that have like ongoing consultancy where I'm kind of like almost like an accountability coach to them. And obviously I'm going to have to charge for that time because it amounts to something across the year. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that's super accessible. Just reach out to people.
It's as I say, I find the same as you. I've never been charged and had great bits of advice off of many people in the industry, but I think it comes from, obviously you're quite a helpful guy and you offer value yourself. So are people going to charge someone like that? I know if you've got some rookie on the phone who wants to, ask you all the basic questions,
right,
you're probably going to say, my time has to be paid for.
Exactly.
But it's tickling the brains or, helping you because you're quite a helpful guy in the community is the way I would be seeing it anyway. But before we go, we can't go without talking about SEO Butler just quickly.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, you've massively changed. You've been PBN Butler. You rebranded as SEO Butler, and then I think over the last year, you've integrated a whole bunch of. I'm not sure if they're new services, but they look to me like new services on the website. In particular, your CRO video audits and done for you e-commerce SEO. Are these actually new services that you're providing?
Sort of. I mean, a lot of them were just, let's say, redesigned. So we've put a lot of work into the website to make it easier to use, and that's a never-ending process, really. But the sort of old school products were, of course, the link building and the content and stuff like that. We decided to launch the CRO video audit service as kind of an answer to the people that are not quite ready yet to commit to great services like Kurt's Convertica, right? So they might not have the revenue or something like that to be able to afford a X, whatever he charges retainer for, let's say, 3 months, 6 months, whatever. And so what we decided to do is we partnered with this firm that specializes in AI heat map creation. And really it's not AI, it's machine learning. There's no real AI, it's whatever. That's a different topic. But long story short, they've created this machine learning program that basically with like 92% accuracy can map out where eyes would go on a user interface. And then what we did is we hired the CRO guy to start to join the team and to work with us, who then basically does an interpretation of that of those findings, right? So instead of getting somebody who you have to pay on a monthly basis to test and implement, what we give you are quick wins based on best practices and tell you what you should be testing in order to get some gains, which will then hopefully get you the revenue to then hire someone like Kurt or the other companies out there to do more ongoing stuff. The e-commerce SEO kind of came out of really our inquiries. So because of SEO Butler, we get quite a lot of inbound leads of people asking us to help with their SEO. Back in the day, we used to do that for everything. And then the real honest truth is we got really bored of doing local SEO. So we just stopped offering it. And we just said, look, we really enjoy the shit out of doing e-commerce. It's something that we're good at. It's something that we can see the value in as far as like, it's obviously a huge kick for us when we see that we've gotten the client X more sales and we've generated them X more revenue and all of that. And so basically, we just decided to specialize on e-commerce SEO and created sort of a page round offering that, and it's been working really, really well.
Interesting. It's interesting you also say that you just ignore the local SEO stuff as well. I think there's a time span on everyone's SEO career that I see who they start out doing that and then they just say, do you know what, forget that crap, I'm moving on up a level. And obviously you're moving on up a level and doing more specific services and also getting your teeth into something that you can actually enjoy doing rather than citations and shit for map rankings and trying to humor guys who've got a couple of $100 a month to try and rank locally for everything and anything. my theory on that. But sadly, Jonathan, we are out of time. But it has been a pleasure having you on. If anyone wants to reach out to you, maybe talk to you, get in touch, maybe invite themselves to your dinner, or whatever it may be, where is the best place to get a hold of you?
It's probably going to be Facebook or via the SEO Butler site. Super happy to post my Facebook URL on or under this video so that people can get in touch via that. Other than that, I am going to be at I believe it's TICon in Chandigarh in India at the end of this month. Then I'm going to be at SEO Spring Training, which I believe still has some tickets left in Tempe, Arizona. And I believe that's it for the next couple of months. So hit me up on Facebook. Get in touch if you want to come down to Brighton as well, and look forward to hanging out. And I really appreciate you having me, Craig.
No worries. Been a pleasure, man.